and join us out here.
Okay, so we've got Phyllis's little 4Runner. We want to make a few changes to it. Feel free to comment down there in the comment section and let us know what you would do with it. Our goal is to make it kind of a little camping rig, you know, something we could take off for the weekend without having to get 4.5 miles to the gallon in the RV, or, you know, we just want to be compact that we can get on some of the trails that you can't get on with some of the bigger vehicles. So a couple of things that we want to do on it. You can see it's got the running boards on there, which I don't know if you've ever used running boards on a 4Runner, but they're about useless. They don't stick out far enough to actually step on them, and if you step on them, you're too tall to get in the vehicle. So those got to go. The next thing that's got to happen is the paint. The poor thing hasn't seen a wax since 1995. We want to buff that out. And then on this little spoiler, you can see some of the paint is peeled off and it looks kind of crummy. We want to fix that up too. Now, one of the things we've already done, I showed you just a brief view before, the fact that it had an Alaskan windshield, which means it's busted to pieces and tons of rock chips. We have a brand new windshield in it now. It was expensive, but it comes with a 1-year warranty for chips. It comes with free replacement, and I changed out the style of trim that was on it. It had the 4Runner trim with the chrome in it, and it was the original windshield. And being that it was the original windshield, the glue was so hard that they couldn't hardly get the trim out without breaking it. So I went with a more modern style, and honestly, it matches the rest of the vehicle better than having a chrome ring around it. So we have a new windshield that we can actually see through. It's kind of awesome. But yeah, I'm going to start with the running boards, and then we're going to have to give it a quick rinse, and then we're going to buff it out. And the last thing that I'm planning on doing here right away is I've driven it quite a bit, and every now and then it does a weird little I don't know, it's almost imperceivable. It feels like you hit a bump, but you'll see a red light flash on the dash. When I've seen that before, I had it happen once before on a Toyota Avalon. That was the fuel pump starting to go away, and it's warned me twice. So we're gonna put a new fuel pump in it, and I'm gonna cheat. I'm not dropping the fuel tank here in the slush and the snow. I'm gonna do it from the top. But you know, it's 28-year-old fuel pump. It's time to do it. So yeah, let's get started. Well, here we go. We just got the running boards off the 4Runner. I think it's a massive improvement. If for any other reason, if you've never owned one of these, getting in and getting out of the vehicle is kind of a challenge. It's weird. It's like the seat is way too low, and fitting in there, these just made it worse. Getting out too, because you couldn't get out without rubbing your leg over it and getting dirt on your pants. So there, that was quick and easy. We got that off. Phyllis is working on that rear spoiler, and this is originally powder coated from the factory, and I'm sure the camera won't show it, but underneath the powder coating you can feel all these bumps like in here. That's because the corrosion has gotten under the powder coating. So we have to remove any evidence of that before we can paint it. Otherwise we'll be doing it again in a year. So once we get that done, we'll get that painted up and put on. That'll look much better. So I think right now I'm going to give it just a quick rinse down before I do any buffing. And we'll do a spot on the hood. I'll kind of, I don't know if the lighting here will show it. It's kind of a flat light today. But I'll do like half of the hood and not half of the other. There's a lot of imperfections in the paint, and it's not going to come out looking perfect. But it will come out looking different than flat white. So it just hasn't been buffed in forever. So I'm going to get on that. Okay, Phyllis, you've been working on the air spoiler, and how's that coming out?
Good. Got all the bubbly paint off. And now I am just working on getting the paint off the edges. Okay. By hand.
And then we'll throw some fresh paint on her, and we're definitely going to let it cure overnight in the furnace room, but then we'll put it back on. It'll be much improved.
Yeah. Do you have mineral spirits to wipe this down?
I have some lacquer thinner and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we should be good.
All right.
Okay.
Carry on.
Perfect. Okay, so we got the running boards off. Phyllis is diligently working on the air spoiler. And now we're going to try to buff this paint a little bit. Here's what I'm going to use. I've got a DeWalt buffer with a 3M pad. These just have a Velcro on the back side, and that's a typical 3M pad. And I'm using New Finish. I know there's 1.5 million different polishes out there that claim to do the best thing in the world, but I have used this before, and New Finish, it's not only a excellent wax, like rain repellent, it actually does a good cleaning job. You know, it actually cuts that little bit of layer of oxidation. I don't know if you can see how bad this paint actually is, but I'll get up close here. The lighting is right. You see it's like permadirt on there. Lots of blemishes. An occasional shiny spot, like somebody actually might have buffed it too hard or tried to make it look better. And then a lot of yellowing in here. I don't know if that'll come out or not. A lot of that, you know, like just junk on there. And it's generally kind of yellowing back here. What a lot of that comes from is the snowplows are busy grinding off plow edges all winter long. And they literally put tons of steel on the road. People don't really think about that. Where does it go? All those sparks you see, that's metal on the road. then your car goes by, it picks it up, it sticks to the paint. It's especially noticeable on white cars, and this happens in Wisconsin. Obviously it happens in Alaska, and you get that weird yellowing of the paint. So we're gonna see if this won't clean it up a little bit. I'll do the half of the hood and one fender, and we'll see if that makes a notable difference. And one note when you're doing this, take your time, nice and slow. This is only, as near as I can tell, I don't know what they did in 95, but I think it's perhaps a single stage paint. It doesn't even seem to have a clear on it. So with other paints, you got to be careful that you don't buff through a clear. You can actually do some thousands of dollars worth of damage pretty quickly there. So let's give her a shot and see how she does. I just did, most of this fender and half of the hood. Let's see if you can see a difference on here. Now, the lighting is really flat today. It's kind of weird. It's hard to see, but in any case, if you remember what it was before, there's imperfections, there's rock chips and stuff, and that's just fine. Now, if you can see the difference here, if you see how clear the reflections are and how detailed they are in that compared to over here, it's just kind of dull and shadows. That's what we're going for. So we're just rejuvenating this paint a little bit. It is single stage paint. I can see like right here, I think it's 27 years old. It's thin. You can almost see the primer through it. So we're going to be just real gentle and do a quick buff job on it, and yeah, take her from there. Through the magic of YouTube. Well, there we go. The only thing that's left is the spoiler still has to go on the back, but Phyllis has that all sanded up. I got to paint that, let it dry, another couple, 2-3 coats. That's going to take me a couple of days. But the running boards are off. The paint polished up amazingly. I don't know how well it shows up through the magic of a camera, but the color is almost completely different. It's no longer orange on the back. It's brighter, it's nicer. It really turned out good. Next thing I gotta do the fuel pump and the headlights. And yeah, if you got suggestions that you want to see, because these wheels really bother me because they're corroded and they look awful. I don't know what to do here. I can sandblast them, I can paint them, I can put different wheels on it. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. Meanwhile, we're going to get to it and get this fuel pump done. Okay, so what I got here is I've got the fuel pump right there. It's an inline in-tank fuel pump. And then for some reason it didn't come with the strainer, so I purchased the strainer separately. The strainer is just a, if I can open this, is just the kind of like a filter on the end. This little guy goes on the end, and it's kind of a fine mesh. I don't know if you can see that. And it'll clip onto the bottom of the pump right there. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, oddly enough, on this vehicle, the way you're typically supposed to do it is to drop the fuel tank, replace it, and put it back in. I'm cheating because I don't want to do that. I don't have a garage. Everything is nothing but wet slush below me. So we're going to do it a little different. So we take off that cover, and that cover exposes the wiring. What is going on here? Wow, something else is funky. That's a fuel line, and it appears to be just pinched right off tight. That's interesting. The pressure line is completely pinched off. I don't even know why this runs. To be just completely honest with you, it shouldn't even start. I don't know that you can get fuel through that. Wow. Okay, here we are once again. We're going to replace the headlights in this old 4Runner. Somebody went ahead and put LEDs in it, which is cool, except they only work on dims and there are no brights. So we're just gonna put the stock, possibly mildly improved headlights in it, halogen, and it's not easy to do on this. The battery has to come out. This has to move over to get to the back of that headlight, and I'm not sure on this one at all. It looks not fun, but we'll figure it out. Let's get started. And you got to be really careful when you do this that you do not touch the glass on the bulbs. That will wreck them. The oil from your fingers will make the glass fail, and it'll be the glass that fails on that. Okay, so we're reinstalling the battery now, and this is a good time to check to see if you have any corrosion on here. That's that white stuff, that oxidation. I have a tool that I use for that. It's one end cleans out the actual battery connections, and the other end cleans off the post. But in addition to that, I always put a little dab of dielectric grease on it. That protects it from the corrosion that's going to come anyway. These little bristles go one direction, so you just kind of screw it on, get it all the way to the bottom, take it off, and it's all shiny and clean. You do the other end to your connection here, run it through till it's all shiny and clean, and you got a good connection again. You should do this every time you do anything like this. Okay, now to the other side.
Will it give me more horsepower to get that out of there?
For sure.
Yeah.
Hundreds. All of this is what it takes to have LED lights.
So this side, you didn't have to, you just had to take this.
Yeah, this side, that's the, that's a radiator overflow. We just removed that. So again, I'm going to install the light bulb first, being careful not to touch the glass. And you want to push it in, seat it in really well if you can, because it's got an O-ring on it. And then take your lock ring and put this back on, and that locks the bulb in place to the back of the light. It's hard to do on this side because you can't see anything, and then the bulb is moving. That's helpful. We've got high and low beams again. Taking the battery out, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but the rest of it's not too bad. I'll throw the overflow back in it, 2 bolts, and we're done. Okay, so here's the fuel pump out of the Toyota 4Runner. And the problem that I discovered before I even took it out is right here. That's your high pressure line, and it was just completely crushed off. And that's why it was having trouble at higher speeds, because it wasn't getting any fuel. Here's the old fuel pump. This is the suction screen. It's got nothing on it at all, and technically should be just fine. But I don't know how long it's been in there and how long it ran with this line pinched off like that. So we're not taking chances. We're gonna put a new fuel pump on it. And the new one comes with a new piece of hose, and that's fine. And then it comes with these clamps. These aren't worth a darn. I don't use those on anything. This is high pressure. I don't know the specs for sure, but it's probably at least 60 PSI. These clamps are meant for fuel injection systems. So we're going to be reusing these clamps. Pop the new strainer on. Let's tighten this up. And there we go. Oh, we still have that issue to deal with. She's probably going to have like 300 horse after this. Okay, there we go. There's the bad one. Here's the new good one. Right there's where it was. Okay, let's put some screws in. Okay, so I'll show you the completed project, because some of you are going to complain that I just cut into the floor. Versus my garage surface here, which lately has been covered with water and slush, I chose not to completely remove the tank and just go into the top. Now, when you do that, you gotta, you know, take care of it. So I put the piece back in, and I used Dynamat on top of it. Dynamat is a sound deadener that's already in the vehicle, another version of it. And I put the piece back in with that, so it's sealed up tight. I'll show you here. So here is the Dynamat. Just roll that on real tight. It's self-adhesive, and that's where I cut out to take the fuel pump. So we put the new fuel pump in and the new line, and as near as we can tell, it's got quite a bit more power. And the other issue that we were having is it was really hard to start when it was hot, because you don't have that extra. These have another injector to help on cold starts, and no more issues. When it's hot, it starts right up, just, I mean, awesome, like a new vehicle. So I don't know if it was all the fuel pump or part fuel pump, part line, but either way, it's fixed now and it runs awesome. So yeah, this is Adam and Phyllis from Alaska Cut the Cord. Like and subscribe, and love you, bye.